The rejection of impulse is the birth of civilization. Man begins where he resists. The animal obeys instinct. The man questions it. He feels the same urges, the same hunger, the same heat, the same lust. But something in him says, wait. That pause, that single act of restraint, is the crack of light where the animal ends and the man begins. It is the miracle that woke man from his animal slumber and set him on the path to become the pinnacle of God's creation. The first step toward fire was not the hand, but the will. The will to withhold, to break from instinct, to impose a new law upon the self. Not from fear, but from vision. From the desire to do more, to be more. That first act of restraint was the beginning of structure. The moment the soul laid its first stone in the unseen temple of man. Before tools, before gods, before language, there was the command of the self, the breath of God within the will. What is not spent becomes strength. The man who retains receives. He receives energy, not as a trickle, but as a storm waiting for shape. He receives discipline because he has mastered the most ancient test, the temptation of release. And he receives vision because the life force he holds inside him wants to become something. It whispers to him in dreams, in symbols, in callings. It builds pressure, not to destroy him, but to reshape him. Your semen is not just fluid, it is a code, a language of life. And when held, it speaks. It creates new desires, sharper than lust. It reaches upward, toward the mythic, the eternal, the divine. Generations of men who sublimated their energy built towers, temples, and timeless stories. They conquered empires, not because they spilled their strength, but because they stored it, refined it, and aimed it, while others, nations once seen as great, fell. Cultures that once lit the world collapsed in silence. Not from lack of intelligence, not from lack of resource, but from a spiritual erosion that crept in slowly. They forgot restraint, they mocked temperance, they glorified indulgence and paid the price. Like Sodom and Gomorrah, cities swollen with excess, rotted from within, where indulgence became law and pleasure was mistaken for freedom. They were not destroyed by wrath, but by consequence, by the weight of their own abandon, by the collapse of inner structure. By the time they remembered what made men strong, it was too late. Others had risen and would dominate them into submission. This is not the story of one people. It is the pattern of history, the rhythm of rise and fall, the turning of the wheel. And we are seeing the seeds of it now, across the world, where sexual decadence begins as freedom and slowly rots a culture from within. At first, it seems harmless, a gesture of progress, a celebration of expression. But slowly, the sacred becomes mocked, the masculine becomes demonized. Pleasure becomes the only compass. And when a nation loses restraint, it loses its compass. It forgets the meaning of struggle, the value of sacrifice, the discipline to build. This is how civilizations die, not with a bang, but with a whisper of forgetting. To build anything higher than yourself, you must rise above yourself. To accumulate the energy necessary to build, you must create space between your spirit and your natural instincts. Within this channel flows energy, discipline, intelligence, and vision, not from ego, but from a source that feels divine, as if it were God-given. Retention is not repression, it is redirection. It is the alchemy of manhood. The highest man is not a consumer. He is a creator, not just of works, but of values. He does not live by impulse. He lives by law, the law of the higher self. The man who retains has built his foundation on the crown pleasure, not because he fears desire, but because he respects it. He honors the life force in his structure, and by doing so, he honors God. He becomes an agent of order in a world that worships chaos. He channels his will with quiet precision, cutting through distraction, temptation, laziness, and decay. Because civilization is the outer cathedral of inner order. It is the stone expression of a man who has mastered his instincts and carved them into something that will outlast him. Libido is not the enemy. It is the engine. The same force that seeks release also seeks to build, to climb, to conquer. The man who holds that fire does not lose it. He refines it into vision, strategy, endurance, and will. And from this internal pressure, he births cathedrals, not of stone, but of meaning, structure, and power. Empires rise not from indulgence, but from discipline. You must build empires in your nervous system before you build them in stone. You must transmute pain into power, lust into light, instinct into vision. Master the base urge, or be ruled by it. This is the great fire of manhood, to hold what burns without turning to ash. Your seed is not just fluid, it is fire. It is fuel. It is code. It is the divine hand trying to write through you. Hold it and build. Not just a life, but a structure, a pattern, a lineage. Order, meaning, art, progress, family. Turn the heat that you feel into form. Let it charge your vision and shape it into discipline, into routine, a daily strike against chaos. Let your discipline become the silent architecture that endures, a blueprint etched in the marrow of those yet to be born. You are not merely a man, nor a child, nor a casualty of the machine that seeks to devour you. You are a timeless agent, a bearer of law, who lays the foundations for the world others will inherit, and carries the sacred fire of those who built empires through discipline, not indulgence. Their legacy was not born in comfort, but in restraint. It did not end. It lives in your choice to hold, to refine, to transmute. Take up the charge. Continue the pattern. Let your seed build that which must outlast you. Your seed is not just fluid. It is fire. It is fuel. It is code. It is the divine hand trying to write through you. Hold it and build.